Go away, Satan.
Today, we're going to dive into an event that literally shook the world to its very core, the crucifixion of Jesus. The story starts with this feeling of cosmic dread, a moment when nature itself just seemed to hold its breath.
I mean, the very ground, the earth itself, seemed to feel the weight of what was about to happen.
And right at the center of all this chaos, there was this man. A man known for healing the sick, for eating with the outcasts, for preaching this radical, mind-blowing message of love.
And yet, this man was condemned to die on a cross. We're talking about the most brutal, humiliating execution the Roman Empire had. It was reserved for slaves, for rebels, the absolute worst of criminals.
So that brings us to the big question, right? But why? Why was this man of love condemned? And how on earth did his death end up changing the world forever? Let's get into it. Okay, so to really get the answer, you have to understand this incredible paradox of who Jesus was. He was this man of pure love who, somehow, was seen as a profound threat.
You see, he wasn't some king sitting in a palace or a general on a battlefield. Nope, he was a teacher, a healer. He went out of his way to walk among the poor. He touched people society had labeled untouchable and loved those everyone else had rejected. His whole ministry was just built on this idea of radical inclusion and compassion.
And this is where you really see the conflict start to bubble up. On one side, you have Jesus talking about this kingdom built on forgiveness, on mercy. But for the people in power, well, that message was a direct threat. To the religious leaders, his claim to be the Son of God was flat-out blasphemy. And for the Romans, any talk about another king sounded a whole lot like rebellion.
So all of this tension, it just builds and builds until it explodes in a single night. A night where loyalty is shattered and a series of rushed trials seal his fate.
And it all kicks off with a simple transaction, just 30 pieces of silver. That number has become completely synonymous with betrayal, right? It was the price paid by one of his own followers, Judas, to hand him over to the authorities.
And the way it happened was so personal, almost deceptively intimate. It's in this quiet garden, a place where they'd gone to pray, and a kiss. A sign of friendship. That was the signal used to identify Jesus to the soldiers who came to arrest him.
And what happened next was just this whirlwind of injustice. I mean, from the moment he's arrested, he's rushed into this sham religious trial, just packed with false accusations. Then he gets sent to the Roman governor Pontius Pilate, who actually says out loud that he can't find any reason to condemn the man. But it didn't matter.
Yeah, in the end, it just didn't matter what Pilate thought. He was under pressure, and he caved to the crowd. Their shouts, their demands for crucifixion, they completely overpowered his judgment. And just like that, the sentence was passed.
So the verdict is death by crucifixion. And you have to understand, this wasn't just about killing someone. It was a process designed by the Romans to inflict the absolute maximum amount of pain and public humiliation. It was a brutal warning to anyone else who might even think about challenging Rome's power.
But even before they got to the cross, there was this whole systematic process of just breaking him. The soldiers beat him. They twisted together a crown of sharp thorns and jammed it onto his head. They mocked him. They spit on him. And then they made him carry his own heavy cross through the streets.
That painful journey ended at a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And it was there that the final act was carried out. They nailed his hands and his feet to the cross and lifted him up for the whole world to see.
So there he is, hanging between heaven and earth, in what must have been just unimaginable agony. And he speaks. His final words, well, they're maybe the most revealing things he ever said.
I mean, just think about this for a second. His first words from the cross, they weren't a curse on his enemies. They weren't a cry of anger. It was a plea for their forgiveness. What an extraordinary act of love and mercy in the middle of all that suffering.
And he didn't stop there. He also offered hope to one of the criminals being crucified right next to him. A man who showed just a flicker of faith. Jesus gives him this incredible promise of salvation, a promise of paradise.
And then finally, with his last breath, he says these 3 words. And they aren't words of defeat. No, they're words of completion. It's like he's saying his purpose, his mission on earth, it was now fulfilled. And in that exact moment of his death,
It's like the world itself cried out, signaling that this was no ordinary death. This was something else entirely.
You know, the accounts from that day describe these incredible, supernatural events happening. Darkness falling over the land in the middle of the day, a huge earthquake, and the massive, heavy curtain in the temple, tearing in two, from top to bottom. It was so powerful that even a Roman centurion, a hardened soldier who'd probably overseen countless crucifixions, was so moved he declared that Jesus truly was the Son of God.
So let's circle back to our original question. Why? Why did this happen? Well, this event isn't just understood as a death. It's seen as a sacrifice. It's framed as the ultimate act of love choosing to endure suffering, of forgiveness conquering hatred, and of a new kind of hope being born right in the middle of the darkest moment imaginable.
And let's be honest, on that hill, on that day, it absolutely looked like death had won. An innocent man was executed, his followers were terrified and scattered, and his whole movement looked like it was completely over.
But the crucifixion wasn't the end of the story, not even close. In fact, for billions of people throughout history and right up to today, this moment is seen as the most important beginning of all. Because what happened next, well, that would change everything.
Thanks for watching.
Stay blessed and don't forget to share this video with everyone.